I mean, it would be no secret. It would be like going to that little place in Russia where they only have one indoor tennis court, and yet they produce a prolific number of top 20 female tennis players. You know, there are these hot pockets around the world of success in every endeavor, whether it's music or chess or tennis or golf, where they're having unbelievable success. And the fact that the golf world hasn't beaten a path to South Korea, to see how South Korea is producing a hugely disproportionate number of great players. I mean, it would be no secret. It would be like going to that little place in Russia where they only have one indoor tennis court, and yet they produce a prolific number of top 20 female tennis players. It would be very much like that. You'd go there and you'd find they're probably doing exactly, that lady's name is Leo Preobrazhenskaya. She produces all of these amazing tennis players. And when you go there, it's one little indoor tennis court on a rusty old beat up farm. And she's producing all these players. And you go in there, and the writer that I was reading recently said, you go in there and there's no tennis balls being hit. They're moving slowly through the movements over and over and over again. And she won't let any of her students play a tournament for the first 3 years. And she's like, you know, American parents would go nuts over this.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. That's how this works. There is no, it has to be skill acquisition. And yet here they come out of there, you know, player after player after player after player in the top 20 in the world in tennis. And tennis understands it. They go there. But how many people have gone to South Korea? How many stories have you read about how they're teaching women to play golf, young girls to play golf in South Korea? That to me is the coolest thing going on in the golf world. The best teacher in the world may be there.
Yeah, I got a glimpse. Amy's very familiar with the ladies tour, having, you know,
been at a really high level with golf. But last year, when we had that big fire event up here and the LPGA-Tour was here at Columbia Edgewater about ready to play, well, they couldn't really go outside. They, you know, ultimately played the event, but we opened it up to them at the golf farm. So they came in. Oh, it was fabulous for me because she'd talked about, you know, a lot of the girls and women that she knew, but I didn't get to see them up close. So I would just kind of like sneak around and watch and observe them practice. And, you know, just the way they went about it, you know, the majority had trackmans and things like that, and they'd kind of set it up and just hit into the net. They really didn't need to see anything. They had their analytics being fed back to them. But the way they went about it and the precision of their golf swings, right? Like they looked like if you just looked at you know, a shaft orientation and how the body worked, there was so many similarities. I'm just looking down, I'm like, there's like 5 or 6 swings that look identical.
I mean,
I thought the interesting part, like back to what you said about how they're training tennis, is like, we built this place, so we have like 3 trackmans, but we also have these spots where there's no trackman, so you can just hit into a net.
Yeah.
No data or anything, right? And like, when we built the place, we're like, oh yeah, like people just get in there, they'll have their lesson, and then they're gonna just get in there and try to work it out. You know, they don't need to see their ball flight, like, and nobody will ever do it. Like, those spots don't get used ever. And these girls walk through the door, and like, half of them bring their trackmans, and I'm like, hey, I can like set that up for you. Like, we'll get your iPad out, or you can use mine or whatever. And they're like, no, we're good. Like, I'm just gonna hit into the net. Like, and I was talking to Madeline Sagstrom, I think, and she was like, this is exactly how we used to train, like back in Sweden when I was growing up. Like, I think this is why there's been a lot of great Swedish golfers, is because like in the wintertime, this is all we had. And so, you know, we had to like kind of think intrinsically a little bit, and we weren't really worried about the ball flight, and we could work on our mechanics and stuff. And she's like, I think that's why there's been a lot of great Swedish golfers. And same thing probably in South Korea with the way they train over there too. And again, the culture is so different over there. I mean, if Brian and I were like, hey guys, you're not gonna hit a ball for, you know, a year, I think we wouldn't have like one customer, just because of the culture, especially with the kids these days. It's so much different over there, the way they're brought up. I think that's just the only way. And it obviously produces like pretty incredible results.
It does. You know, I've read a fair bit about what goes on in South Korea, and they, you know, while they're waiting to hit, they watch what Brian and I would remember, that you're way too young to have ever heard the word probably cyber vision. But there were these VHS tapes of a great golf swing, Al Geiberger's golf swing, but super slow-mo. And
I know about this. Yeah.
you know about this? It's called cyber vision. People would put it in and watch it, but in South Korea, part of the training is watching great golf swings in slow motion. And I mean, if you've read much about talent acquisition,